Hey guys, guess what? Did you know that DaVinci Resolve can now run on an iPad? Like, what? Right, so full disclosure guys, this isn't exactly new information. DaVinci Resolve for iPads actually did come out last year, towards the end of 2022. This was actually announced by Apple and not BlackMagic back in October, when Apple was showing off their new iPad Pros that would be coming out powered by the M2 chip, which has only just made it to the MacBook Pro lineup, 4 months later. This is allowing the ultra-portable device of an iPad to edit full-fledged DaVinci Resolve using BlackMagic RAW, ProRes, H.264 and 5. It has Apple Pencil support for improved input functionality, and it can open full DRP, full-fledged DaVinci Resolve projects as well. So you can start a project on your computer, on your Mac or PC, continue on your iPad, and vice versa through BlackMagic's Cloud Sync, or just by plugging in an external drive straight into the iPad. On an iPad. Now, my first reaction to this, to be perfectly honest, was, why? Why do we need this? Editors for so long, we've honed the desk setup. We've got Stream Decks and keyboards and custom keyboard layouts, and we've got the mice that we like, and lighting, and big microphones, and the monitors and displays that we like. But I can actually see this being a really, really, really useful tool in a few different situations. But first of all, let me actually fix the exposure on my video here. Now, as I was saying, I can see this being really useful in a few different situations, particularly being like live working and on set. If you have an editor on set or a DIT who needs to do some transcoding, or doing a light color grade even. And, because this app actually supports Apple Pencil for additional input as well, they're really utilizing the device and the format that it's on. Whether you love or hate an iPad, you cannot deny that Apple makes really, really nice displays. And not to mention that the display that is on the iPad Pro that will be able to run this piece of software is the same display that you'll find in the Pro XDR monitor that Apple sells. That, is a $5,000 monitor, color calibrated for HDR work. So it's a really nice monitor. I can definitely see being used live on set with someone jamming just a portable USB-C hard drive Thunderbolt drive into the iPad, and loading up some footage, getting to work, and doing some transcoding, doing some quick LUTs and tweaks and color grades, and exporting that out and sending it off. The power and the efficiency of M1 is what's made this possible. But I don't want to give too much credit here to Apple. BlackMagic Design rightly deserve a lot of credit, not just for the application. The application it's still in beta, so you're not going to have necessarily a perfectly smooth, polished experience, but that comes part and parcel with a beta, and it's a free piece of software, as we all love about DaVinci Resolve. We can get almost all of the features of it for free with the free version. So taking that into account, you really can't complain if it's not a perfect experience right out of the box. But BlackMagic deserves so much credit just for the very idea, for the concept. Now, don't get me wrong, we have had tablets before in the Windows and Android spaces that have had some really, really impressive specs, not to mention the Surface tablets, but these are still using x86 Intel architecture, and these get incredibly hot when they utilize their full CPU and GPU power. Which creates not only a physical problem if you're holding the device and it gets extremely, extremely hot, but also it's just going to burn and chew through that battery real quick, making it a bit useless for an application like video editing that's going to be that power hungry, which is, as we're all starting to see, is what makes these M-series chips so special. Apple has honed the ARM architecture on their iPhone and iPad portable devices for many years now, to the point where they're now porting it over and putting it in their desktop systems. The iMac's got it, the Mac Studio, the Mac Mini, the MacBook Pros, and probably the Mac Pro soon enough. And so now we're starting to see not just a similar architecture and similar processors across their portable lineup and their desktop experiences, but the same processors. This is a full-fledged M2 chip. Pretty darn close to what you will find in base level, even a MacBook Pro. So this has got a lot of grunt, but it's also really efficient. It doesn't heat up as quickly, and it's not anywhere near as power hungry. So it's going to be a lot easier on that portable battery. Now, well, I definitely want to continue praising BlackMagic. Well done, guys. metaphorical hat off to you. I'm not jumping to any conclusions or assumptions that I think this is the way the industry's going, that we're just going to be able to pick up our computers and touch them and bring them to the next edit bay and show your edit and then go the next door. Not only do I not think we're going that way, I certainly hope that we are not as well. I don't necessarily think that would be a good thing. I like desktop systems. I like having a station built for that specific purpose, and also the environment around it built for that purpose as well. It creates a certain atmosphere, and it allows you to pack more into the computer. When you're not, the iPad's still dealing with an enclosed space, and although it is incredibly efficient, it's still going to get hot eventually. So having a bigger computer that's still got some space for active cooling is in no means a bad thing, nor will it ever be. Plus, of course, then we've also got options of awesome keyboards and Stream Decks and monitors and speakers and all those other good peripherals, like I was mentioning earlier. Nevertheless, this is a really big deal. We've had powerful laptops that can run all the major NLEs for quite some time now, so we have had some level of portability, but nothing like this, where we can just pop a keyboard on or off, take it or leave it. We can just use our hand as the entire input interface on this device and carry it around. Hell, if I had an iPad Pro at my disposal, I would definitely be downloading this app right now. In fact, let's face it, it would already be downloaded at this point. But it got me thinking as I was on the train on the way home from work today, would I ever want Avid to come out with something like this? Avid has some very talented developers, and Pro Tools has a beta version just out just now with full native support for M-series chips on Apple. Avid Media Composer is very, very close to there. And it's not like they haven't ever ventured into the iPad space before. Don't forget, Avid did once release an editing app for the iPad way back in the day called Avid Studio. And it was basic. You'd say you could go a little bit further than Apple's iMovie on the iPad could at the time. Though you had your different tracks and layers and storyboards, the way you could bring stuff in. And it was quite cool. I remember using it while I was at university because we had an emerging technologies class, and we did have a tutor who got very excited about it and was sure this is the way it was going. And he's probably very excited about this launch from DaVinci Resolve. I no doubt. So Dan, if you are ever watching this, I would love to get your thoughts on this. I'll need to track you down and ask you at some point. But while the Avid Studio app was very ahead of its time and was very well presented and was easy to use, it was also very short-lived. It wasn't long before the app was rebranded as Pinnacle Studio, since Avid had completed its acquisition of Pinnacle Studio. And I think they wanted to kind of dispel the idea that this might be an iPad version of Avid Media Composer, since it was an editing app that was also called Avid and had the same, kind of color scheme and stuff like that. I think they wanted it to be a separate thing. And then in 2012, Pinnacle Systems was acquired by another company called Coral, and it came out of Avid's sphere of influence. And Avid hasn't put out any kind of video editing app for iOS or Android or any other tablet ever since. And we've been perfectly happy to continue using desktops. But getting back to the question that was initially posed, would I want Avid to release a tablet version of Avid Media Composer? Honestly, I don't know. Once I manage to get my hands on this Resolve iPad app and have a play with it, I'll let you know. But that's enough for me, everyone. What do you think? Do you think Avid should make an app for iPad, whether it be a video editing one or a companion piece? Do you think iPads are stupid and we should just, all forget about them and they're just overpriced, sheets of glass that we don't really need? Or do you just not want to buy iPads because you don't like Apple? Because this isn't just about iPads. They were just the first one to do it. I'm not just praising the iPads. I'm not a massive Apple fanboy. I do have a lot of Apple products around me, but I'm not a massive Apple fanboy. I just I'm stuck in the ecosystem. I'm trapped, guys. Save me! Save me!